beef from people that like him or anything. And I love NYWC and everybody there, and I know that's like his home place, so I don't want to say anything that upsets anyone. But that was what I heard.
We will do research and absolutely edit that out of the podcast if it is false. I'm just kidding. So this is just hearsay, but
right.
I mean, something had to happen with Big O because, like you said, he's got the look and he knows people, and he was never signed, so it had to be something.
And they loved him, even though he was doing a lot of things that I thought were weird, like that made him stand out in a negative way. They all loved him, and I think a lot of that due to his look.
Because he looked like the Ultimate Warrior and Robbie E from Impact. Actually, that's how I describe him.
Like, I remember him even saying, like, he came right into the extra room one day. He goes, yeah, they love me, man. They just asked me if I could pass the test if they signed me. And I told them absolutely. You know, like, and I was like, oh, great. Like, good for you. You know, like, it's just like
yeah, that's not the kind of – you don't want to piss off the other guys there either. You know, that's kind of that's how you get heat, I believe, right? That's
my understanding.
Yeah, that's what I understand,
too. That's a pretty textbook way. But I didn't ever have heat with him. I just thought he was kind of goof. You know, he's like a goof. Like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Because he was nice. He's a very nice guy. But so what was I saying? Oh, so like he kind of isolated himself. Like O had asked him if he wanted to work. If O had asked Biff if he wanted to work with him in their match for SmackDown, and Biff was like, "Oh, I'm not working. They don't want me to work." And he like didn't do the Rosebud stuff. Like he didn't want to be on with the Rosebud stuff. And a reason why was one of the Rosebud things I did. Adam Rose had a match with Ryback, and you guys might remember this when Ryback did the what was his move called?
Shell shock.
Shell shock. He did the shell shock to the two guys dressed as a banana and like a hot dog. You remember that, Raw?
Yeah, actually, yep.
Yeah, I remember the Rosebuds for that. And
that was the match. Okay.
So I was supposed to be one of those guys. And Arn saw me and was like, nah, he's too tall. I was the tallest guy there. And I'm 6'1", and everybody else was shorter than me. I'm not that tall for wrestling.
I believe Ellsworth was a Rosebud, right? So that gives you, like, that tells you who the Rosebuds were. And then Braun Strowman was a Rosebud one, too. So,
he's like, no, he's too tall. And then Ryback was like, how much do you weigh? And I was like, I think at the time, 230. And he was like, oh, the weight's fine, but, yeah, you're a little tall. It might look funny. And I was like, oh, I can go up. I like started shrinking myself. I'm like, I could walk on my knees. Like, I just wanted to be on Raw. I wanted to be on TV, right? Like, and I was anyway as a Rosebud, but I wanted to get in the ring and do something. I just thought it was so cool. And I was, like, discouraged. And Adam Rose pulled me aside because he could tell. And he was like, bro, don't worry about it. He goes, that's a good thing. I'm like, why? He goes, if you get signed – for the first 6 months of your career, everybody's going to be posting gifs of you as a banana getting shell shocked. You know, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's true. You know, like, I didn't think of it like that. I was just thinking in the now, you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't thinking if I get signed, that would be kind of a joke. And I wouldn't, you know, it'd be like the whole thing with Bray Wyatt. Everybody was chanting Husky Harris for the first couple of months. You know what I mean? Like, so I got that. You know, I was kind of glad about that afterwards. And Biff never came out. He sat in the back. He didn't even do the Rosebud stuff because he just said, if I get signed, I don't want that out there. And him and I actually sat in catering after that, and he told me like a little bits and pieces of his story, Biff, as to like this is when I started to get smart to like how experienced he was in the Indies, and that he was trained by Lance Storm and Funaki, and like that dude, man, it kills me that he like I will fight to the death that where Gargano is right now is where Biff should be. Like I 100% like. We'll get to that, but
I'm going to tell you right now, Joe is one of the biggest Johnny Gargano fans. So you might have actually just got heat with Joe.
Well, here's the thing: me and Gargano wrestled at the Performance Center. That was his NXT tryout. Was him versus me, and we did awesome. You know, we tore it down. But I didn't like the way he treated me at all. Like I'm straying from where I was at, but it's okay because this kind of segues into that story and makes sense to tell it now. When we did our Performance Center tryout, again, I didn't know Chuck Taylor. You know, I didn't know Matt Riddle. I didn't know Johnny Gargano. I didn't know any of these guys. I had no idea.
Not for nothing. That sounds like the most talent-filled performance tryout I've ever heard.
Yeah,
that is crazy.
You know, so I kind of felt out of place there because all those guys were like doing these big indies, and it's funny because I've been wrestling for 12 years at that point, but these guys were like, oh man, you know, Gargano and Biff Busick and Drew. Oh crap, what's his name?
Gulak.
Gulak, yeah, Drew Gulak.
Gulak, yeah.
These guys are at my performance center, right? They all got signed at this, Drew
So it
Gulak.
sounds like that's when they kind of invaded Evolve, and they just Gargano, Biff, Gulak, all right off the top from Evolve. I remember that time.
Gulak didn't get signed right away. Biff did, and Gulak wound up making it on TV before Biff even did. But anyway, I just didn't know who any of them were. I was like, I don't, as far as I'm concerned, we're all on the same level right now. We're all starting from scratch, trying out to get to WWE. Um, so pretty much, long story short, that tryout was grueling, man. It was a lot of hard work, and they killed us, and it was awesome. Matt Bloom is so cool. It's such a good coach. Norman Smiley, freaking Robbie Brookside, all those guys are incredible. Regal. It was amazing. But so the last day, we didn't do any wrestling until the last day. The last day, the last couple hours before our flights home. We did promos. It was the last promos class before Dusty passed away. He was at it, and I lost you guys. Oh, there you are. He was at that. That was the last one. That was on a Thursday. The following Thursday, Dusty passed away. So we were the last promo class with him, and then after the promos were done, which I did my promo, and I loved it. I thought it was great. And then so what happened was we did our promos and we did some serious stuff, and the mood was kind of like dragged down because everybody's promos were so serious and like telling their struggles and stories to kind of give themselves an identity. You know what I mean? And Jerry Briscoe was like, "All right, now that I'm depressed, why don't you guys do something that can make me laugh? Make me laugh." I was like, "Oh, I wasn't expecting that. I had rehearsed that promo for like 6 weeks. You know what I mean? I wanted it to be perfect." I don't know if you guys know who Rex Lawless is. He's an NYWC guy.
Sure, yeah, local guy.
He's amazing, man. He is so good. Unbelievable guy outside of the ring. Unbelievable presence. Unbelievable worker. I'm sitting next to him, and I'm like, "Bro, you think it'd be cool if I did a Macho Man promo?" He was like, "Hell yeah, man." And I'm not the best Macho Man impersonator, but I was like, "This will make them laugh." You know what I mean? I did the whole cream of the crop promo. I got up there and I was like, I kind of like went up there like timid. And I'm like, I'm not really the funniest guy in the world, or anything. I don't have anything to make you guys laugh. But I mean, one of the best moments of my whole life was when I realized that the cream, yeah, brother, it rises to the top, yeah. And I started doing the whole Macho Man, cream promo, but like pulling out fake creamers and putting them on my head and stuff. And they were laughing. Like Briscoe popped and Matt Bloom popped and those guys. I didn't see Dusty, but everybody was pretty much like laughing. Even if they were laughing at me, whatever, that was the goal.
It doesn't matter. You got a reaction. At the end of the day, that's all you want,
Right, exactly, yeah. And then so after that was over, uh, Bloom started calling matches, the guys that were going to have matches. I think there was like, I want to say, I could be wrong, there was like 50 people. And it was maybe 7, 8 matches, if that. And they didn't call my name for a match. I had been wrestling for 12 years, and they knew that. Regal knew me. Regal was at my extra stuff where I worked matches and stuff. And the reason why I got called there, honestly, I think, was because of the match I worked with Biff. So back to what we were talking about before, he told Big O he wasn't wrestling, and then now he came up to me and was like, "Mike, I want to wrestle you." I was like, "Oh, cool. Thanks, bro. That's awesome." I didn't really feel comfortable with anybody else here anyway. So him and I wrestled, and that match was awesome. Like I wish I could get a copy of that match, man. It was my favorite match I think I ever had, to be honest. And it was only like 5 minutes, but he's so good. And like we tied up, well, and it was like locking horns, but we were like two bulls locking horns when we tied up. To where like I'm a lot big, not a lot bigger, but I'm bigger than Biff, and I felt like I was locking up with someone bigger than me. Like he's so strong and so intense when he gets in there. And like when we like tied up and struggled and jocked for position until like it wasn't even like a backup into the corner. We just like boof pushed each other off, And I like it felt so real that I like started to get like puffed up and like my eyes started swelling like I was ready for a fight.
Like you're ready to fight him, lock up.
Yeah. And that was the best feeling in the world because I'm like Kurt Angle in that way where like I would much rather somebody punch me in the face than completely miss me. And I love getting hit for real in certain ways because I feel like it just if you can't suspend disbelief in any other way, hit the guy for real. You know what I mean? And the guy's like, okay, that was real. Now I'm interested. You know what I'm saying?
So, unlike Carmella on SmackDown, is what I would say, in the opposite of the way some people wrestle today.
Yeah, a lot of people, yeah, for sure. But so and when we did that, like Hunter was like back up against the barricade. Malenko was like leaning on the barricade talking to I think Armstrong and nobody. Not that nobody was paying attention, but the guys were like their body language was like, okay, another match. You know what I mean? And after that tie up, Hunter walked over the ring, stopped talking to whoever he was talking to, and leaned on the ring. Malenko stood up because Malenko loves good tie ups, from what I've heard. And everybody just sort of kind of watched, after that. And then they tested us a little bit, and I didn't know at the time.
Again, no pressure whatsoever. Like with
Okay.
everybody you just listed, that's like 7 Hall of Famers. Like, how do you lock up after that?
Yeah, and like Hunter, I mean, I've had his poster on my wall since I'm like, 8 years old. You know what I'm saying? Like that was my guy, bro. Like I had tapes of him onion skin thin because I've watched him so many times. You know what I mean? Like that's my guy, bro. And he's like leaning in to watch me. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't get any higher than that. So we start doing stuff, and then the refs like, and at that point, like Big O wrestled for like 7 minutes, and it was they were like chuckling. You know what I mean, at his stuff, and it
I
was
can't
like
imagine. I can't imagine Big O in a 7-minute match. I'm sorry. I think it's like a 30-minute ride back classic. It just doesn't happen.
yeah, right? Yeah, no. So the refs like take it home at like 3 minutes. I hear him say take it home, and I'm like, what? And Biff immediately was like, don't listen to him, just keep going. And I'm like, what? Like in my head was like pure panic, but I was trying not to show it in my body because I think that was the test. They were like, let's cut them short and see if they freak out. They had a good tie up, but maybe that was a fluke. Maybe they're gonna, show stress because if you're on live TV or in front of a live crowd, you can't show that something's going wrong. They got to just think everything's flowing still. So he just kind of tried to keep me calm and kept going through the spots. And the ref started getting higher. Take it home. I said, take it home. Guys, what the hell? Take it home. Blah, blah, blah. So eventually the finish was supposed to be me just, and the way he put it, he was like, just take my effing head off with a clothesline and pin me. That was supposed to be the finish. He was going to put me over. But then he did like, I think it's called a blockbuster, the neck breaker front flip deal.
Off
right?
the second rope?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he did that, and I just laid down. I didn't kick out, and you could hear him like exhale when I didn't kick out. He was like, ah. And the ref was like, "Damn it, finally!" Like, and he was mad, and he's like, he chewed us out for not listening to him. But I believe that was the reason why I got called down there. I think Biff was getting called either way, but I think that match was the reason that I got called down because I hung with him so well, and we didn't show panic. Like I don't know how I didn't because I was freaking out that we weren't listening to the ref, and he was making it known that he wasn't happy about it. But yeah, anyway, so back to the performance center. So they didn't call me for a match, right? So I'm like, what do I do? In my head, I was kind of like, sweet, that's a lot of pressure off my shoulders. You know what I'm saying? But I would have, dude, if I didn't wrestle, I would have been like, dude, I just wasted a tryout. You know what I mean? Because like, yeah, I could do the rolls, I could do the cardio drills, I could do that all day. I could work out, in the gym with the trainer, like all that stuff we were doing. But like, this whole thing is to get a job being a wrestler or a sports entertainer, but still, I mean, that's done in the ring.
Oh, be careful with the W word. I'm not sure if you could say that on TV. Let's just say sports entertainer.
That's why I'm surprised they let him call him Johnny Wrestling and not Johnny Sports Entertaining. But
I smell a T-shirt. Not for nothing. I smell a T-shirt.
Yeah, but so no. So anyway, I was like, all right, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And I asked Drew Gulak, and he was like, they didn't call you? I'm like, no. He's like, go say something, bro. Say something, bro. Every 5 minutes he'd come up to me like, bro, say something. Say something, bro. You got to tell him. You got to tell him. And I'm glad he did that because he was being funny, but like he was also like, bro, you're gonna regret this for the rest of your life. Like this is you're here. He was right. He was saying everything that I was saying to myself, but too afraid to act on. And then Biff was like, Mike, go tell him. So I went up to Regal and I was like, sir, I was trying to think of how to say it without sounding like I was like, you guys can give me a match, brother, and I've been working for 12 years. Like what are you doing? So I just kind of was like, Mr. Regal, I'm sorry, I don't mean any disrespect. I didn't get called for a match, and I'd really like one if that's possible. And he was like, he looked at me like with such confusion, like, what? They didn't call you? All right, yeah, no, that must have been a mistake. I mean, that's all Matt's doing, Matt Bloom. That's all Matt's doing. But let me go talk to him. hold on. So he goes, talks to him, and I'm like, all right, cool. That was cool. I was hoping that was like the reaction I would have hoped for. Like, what? Really? They didn't? Uh, and then Matt Bloom comes out like 5 minutes later. He didn't look happy. Like, I don't know if it was because of that or not.